Hey everyone, I want to talk about something that isn't always easy to see, something that isn't loud or obvious, but is deeply felt: loneliness. Imagine walking into a crowded room, surrounded by conversations, laughter, and shared memories. Now imagine that none of it includes you. Imagine speaking, but no one listens, reaching out, but no one reaches back. This is the reality for so many people who go unnoticed. We often celebrate success, intelligence, and strength, but we sometimes forget that the most human thing we can do is to connect, to be there for someone. The absence of friendship isn't just a quiet life, it's an invisible struggle. It's waking up each day feeling like you are walking through the world alone, as if you don't belong. But here's the truth. Everyone deserves friendship. Everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and valued. The question is, are we looking closely enough? Are we making space for those who feel like outsiders? Are we offering kindness, not just to those who are already in our circle, but to those standing just outside of it? Friendship isn't just about who makes us laugh or who we've known the longest. It's about showing up. It's about opening a door and saying, "You are welcome here." A simple hello can mean everything. A small act of kindness can change someone's life. So tonight I ask you, think of the person who always eats lunch alone, the one who walks home in silence, the one who seems like they don't need anyone, because maybe they do. Maybe they are just waiting for someone like you to notice. Loneliness is an invisible struggle, one that often goes unnoticed by the world. It does not announce itself with grand gestures or dramatic cries for help. Instead, it lingers quietly in the background, hidden behind polite smiles and empty conversations. It is the silence between words, the unreturned messages, the moments when someone walks into a room and no one acknowledges their presence. It is an ache that many feel, but few ever see. Unlike physical pain, loneliness does not leave visible scars. There are no bandages, no casts, nothing that signals to others that something is wrong. Instead, it seeps into the spaces between social interactions, making itself at home in the quiet moments, when one realizes that no one is reaching out, no one is waiting, no one is asking how they are. It is easy to overlook because it does not demand attention the way other struggles do. A person can be surrounded by people, engaged in conversation, and still feel completely alone. The world moves fast, and people are often caught up in their own lives. There are schedules to keep, responsibilities to manage, and personal goals to achieve. In the midst of all this, it becomes easy to assume that everyone is doing fine. If someone is not visibly struggling, if they are not openly speaking about their loneliness, it is easy to believe they do not feel it. But this assumption is dangerous, because loneliness thrives in silence. It grows in the absence of acknowledgement, in the spaces where someone longs to be included, but is never invited. There is a misconception that only the quiet or socially awkward experience loneliness, but the truth is that it does not discriminate. A person can be successful, intelligent, funny, and still feel profoundly alone. It is not about the number of people around someone, it is about the depth of connection they feel. Someone can have a room full of acquaintances and still lack a single person they truly trust. They can be surrounded by conversation and still feel as though their voice does not matter. Loneliness is also a cycle. The more someone feels invisible, the harder it becomes to reach out. Fear of rejection, fear of seeming needy, fear of being a burden. These feelings build walls around a person, making it even more difficult for them to connect. They begin to believe that their presence does not matter, that no one would notice if they withdrew completely. This belief is not born from reality, but from prolonged isolation, from too many unanswered messages, Too many gatherings they were never invited to. Too many times they spoke and no one truly listened. What makes loneliness so difficult is that it often contradicts what others see on the surface. A person may look completely fine, may smile at the right moments, may even joke and laugh with others, but deep down, they carry the weight of feeling unseen. They may hesitate before speaking, wondering if their words truly matter. They may walk into a room full of people and still feel like they do not belong. They may go home at the end of the day and realize that no one has really asked how they are, not in a passing polite way, but in a way that means I genuinely care and I want to know. It is not just about companionship or socializing. Loneliness affects self-worth. When someone feels disconnected for long enough, they begin to question whether they are valued at all. They wonder if their presence makes a difference, if they are important to anyone. It can lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and a sense of detachment from the world. It becomes easier to withdraw than to risk feeling ignored. The absence of friendship is not just an empty social calendar, it is an emotional burden that slowly erodes a person's sense of belonging. Yet, because loneliness is so often invisible, it remains unaddressed. The world does not always recognize those who are struggling in silence. It does not pause to ask whether the person who always stands on the edges of a group is actually okay. It does not always notice the ones who are fading into the background. And that is why loneliness persists. Not because people want to be alone, but because they feel like they have no other choice. Everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and valued. It is a fundamental human need, woven into the fabric of who we are. From the moment we are born, we seek connection. We look for signs that we belong, that our presence matters, that someone cares about what we have to say. It is not just about being physically present in a space or having people around us. It is about knowing deep down that we are recognized as individuals with thoughts, feelings, and experiences that are worth acknowledging. Being seen is more than just being looked at. It is about being truly noticed in a way that makes a person feel understood. It is when someone remembers a small detail about us, when they ask how we are and genuinely wait for an answer, when they make space for us in their lives without us having to ask. It is in the moments when someone looks past the surface and sees the complexity of who we are. It is in the times when we are struggling and instead of assuming we are fine, someone pauses long enough to recognize that we are not. Hearing someone is more than just listening to their words. It is understanding the meaning behind them. It is paying attention, not just nodding along while waiting for a turn to speak. It is when someone shares something personal and instead of dismissing it, we acknowledge it. It is when a quiet voice in the room is encouraged to speak rather than being talked over. It is when we validate someone's feelings instead of minimizing them, when we allow their experiences to exist without judgment. It is easy to assume that people feel heard just because we are in the same conversation, but true listening requires effort. It requires setting aside distractions, putting away assumptions, and giving someone the space to express themselves fully. To be valued means to know that we matter. It is more than just being tolerated or accepted. It is about being appreciated for who we are. It is feeling like our presence brings something meaningful to the lives of others. It is knowing that if we were absent, we would be missed. That our contributions, thoughts, and emotions have weight. It is when someone reaches out to us, not because they need something, but because they genuinely want us in their lives. It is when our efforts are acknowledged, when our existence is not just noted but embraced. Many people move through life feeling invisible, unheard, and unappreciated. They go to work or school, sit in rooms full of people, walk through crowds, and yet feel completely alone. They speak but feel like no one truly listens. They try to connect but are met with indifference. They contribute, but their efforts go unnoticed. Over time, this absence of acknowledgement begins to wear on them. It makes them question their worth, their place in the world, their significance. It is not that they need constant validation, but rather that they need to know at some level that they matter. Society often prioritizes certain voices over others. Some people are naturally given more attention, whether because of their confidence, their status, or the way they present themselves. Meanwhile, others are pushed to the background not because they have nothing to offer, but because they are quieter, different, or simply not considered important enough to be noticed. This imbalance creates a world where some feel seen and heard, while others feel like they are speaking into a void. It creates an environment where people begin to believe that their presence or absence makes no difference at all. Being seen, heard, and valued should not be privileges reserved for a few. They should be the foundation of how we interact with each other. They are the elements that make life meaningful, that create connection, that remind us we are not alone. They require effort, awareness, and the willingness to acknowledge those who might otherwise go unnoticed. They are the difference between a life of quiet isolation and one where a person feels truly alive. Success and strength mean little without connection. A person can achieve great things, earn recognition, and accumulate wealth, but if they have no one to share it with, the accomplishment feels empty. Human beings are wired for connection. It is what gives life meaning beyond material success. The pursuit of individual achievements can be fulfilling, but without relationships, without people who genuinely care, the victories feel hollow. Society often equates success with external accomplishments, titles, status, accolades, but true fulfillment comes from the bonds we create with others. Strength is often associated with independence, with the ability to stand alone, to push forward without relying on anyone else. While resilience is valuable, no one thrives in complete isolation. There is a difference between being self-sufficient and being emotionally disconnected. Strength is not about carrying burdens alone. It is also about knowing when to let others in. It is about recognizing that vulnerability is not weakness, but a necessary part of being human. The strongest people are not those who isolate themselves, but those who understand the value of relationships, who know that true strength comes from having others to lean on and support in return. Success, when pursued without connection, can lead to loneliness. Many people devote their lives to their careers, to personal growth, to achieving goals, only to find that at the peak of their accomplishments, there is no one there to celebrate with them. The world may admire them from a distance, but admiration is not the same as connection. It does not replace the warmth of friendship, the depth of a meaningful conversation, or the simple comfort of knowing that someone cares beyond what they can offer. Without relationships, success feels like an endless climb with no destination, an achievement that lacks the emotional depth to make it truly worthwhile. There are countless stories of people who have everything, fame, money, recognition, but who still feel empty. They are surrounded by people who admire them, but not necessarily by people who truly know them. They may have a network of acquaintances, but lack genuine friendships. The more successful they become, the harder it can be to form real connections, because they begin to wonder whether people like them for who they are or for what they have achieved. In contrast, those who may not have traditional markers of success, but have strong, meaningful relationships, often feel a deeper sense of fulfillment. They understand that true success is not measured in numbers, awards, or achievements, but in the quality of the relationships they build. Strength without connection can create a false sense of security. It may seem as though being completely independent is the ideal, that needing others is a sign of weakness. But human beings are not designed to go through life alone. Even the most resilient person benefits from companionship, from having someone to share their struggles and triumphs with. It is not a matter of dependence, but of mutual support, of knowing that life's burdens do not have to be carried alone. The ability to trust, to lean on others when needed, is not a flaw but a testament to the power of human connection. People often chase success and strength as if they are the ultimate goals, forgetting that what truly makes life rich is not just personal achievement but shared experiences. A conversation with a friend, a moment of laughter with a loved one, a shared struggle that brings people closer. These are the things that create depth and meaning. Without them, success feels like a performance rather than something truly fulfilling. The most enduring happiness comes from knowing that beyond the work, beyond the accomplishments, there are people who genuinely care, who see past the achievements and recognize the person behind them. Connection gives purpose to both success and strength. It turns achievements into shared joy, challenges into opportunities for support, and strength into something that uplifts rather than isolates. Without connection, even the greatest successes can feel like empty victories, and even the strongest person can feel alone. 4. You said, keynote, no 0.4, expand it into 650 words. Don't add ending sentences. Don't add any heading sentences. ChatGPT said, friendship is about inclusion, not just familiarity. It is easy to gravitate toward people who are similar to us, those who share our interests, backgrounds, and experiences. There is comfort in the familiar, in knowing that conversations will flow effortlessly, that there will be no need to explain ourselves or feel out of place. But true friendship is not just about finding people who already fit into our world. It is about making space for others, about opening our circles rather than keeping them closed. Inclusion requires effort. It means noticing the person who is standing on the outside, the one who hesitates before joining a conversation, the one who seems unsure of whether they belong. It means being the person who extends an invitation, who makes room at the table, who recognizes that friendship is not just about deepening existing bonds, but also about creating new ones. Many people feel invisible, not because they have nothing to offer, but because no one has taken the time to see them. A simple act of kindness, a greeting, a small gesture of acknowledgement, an invitation to join in can make all the difference. Friendship should not be exclusive. It is not about forming groups that shut others out, about creating barriers that make people feel unwelcome. It is about connection, about building relationships that make people feel valued and included. Sometimes, the fear of disrupting the balance of an existing friendship can make people hesitant to bring others in. They worry that adding someone new will change the dynamic, that the familiarity they cherish will be altered. But inclusion does not weaken friendships. It strengthens them. It brings new perspectives, new experiences, and new opportunities to grow. There is a tendency to believe that if someone really wants to be included, they will make the effort themselves. But not everyone has the confidence to insert themselves into a group, to take the risk of rejection. Many people have been excluded so often that they no longer try. They assume that if they were wanted, someone would have invited them in. It is easy to overlook those who do not push their way forward, those who remain quiet in the background. But just because someone does not demand attention does not mean they do not long for connection. Inclusion means recognizing those who might not have the ability or the confidence to ask for friendship, and making the effort to reach out to them first. Familiarity can be limiting. When friendships are built only around sameness, same experiences, same interests, same perspectives, it creates a narrow view of the world. It reinforces the idea that friendship can only exist within certain boundaries, that connection is only possible with those who already align with us. But some of the most meaningful friendships come from unexpected places, from moments when we step outside of what is familiar and embrace something different. It is in these connections that we learn the most, that we grow, that we expand our understanding of others. Inclusion in friendship is not about obligation or pity. It is about recognizing the value in others and making the effort to bring them into our world. It is about understanding that no one deserves to feel like they are always on the outside looking in. It is about realizing that friendship is not a limited resource, that offering kindness and connection does not take anything away from what we already have. It is about being the kind of person who notices, who reaches out, who makes space. Some of the most profound friendships begin with a single act of inclusion, a moment when someone decides to make room, to extend a hand, to say, "You belong here." It does not take much, but it can mean everything. Small acts of kindness can change lives. It is easy to underestimate the power of a simple gesture, a word of encouragement, or a moment of genuine attention. People often think that making a difference requires grand actions, that only major efforts can truly impact someone's life. But the reality is that the smallest moments of kindness often leave the deepest impressions. A kind word at the right time, a helping hand when it is needed most, or even just the act of truly listening to someone can shift the course of their day, their mindset, or even their life. Many people go through their days feeling unnoticed, unheard, or unimportant. They may be carrying burdens that no one sees, struggling with self-doubt, loneliness, or exhaustion. A simple act of kindness can serve as a reminder that they matter, that someone cares, that they are not invisible. Holding the door for someone, giving a genuine compliment, offering assistance without being asked. These are small things, but to someone who feels unseen, they can mean everything. Kindness does not require wealth, status, or influence. It is accessible to everyone, regardless of circumstances. It can be as simple as making eye contact and smiling at a stranger, asking someone how their day is and actually listening to their response, or acknowledging someone's hard work when others overlook it. In a world that often feels rushed and impersonal, these small moments of warmth stand out. They remind people that humanity is still present, that there is still goodness in the world. The impact of kindness is often greater than we realize. A passing comment meant to uplift can stay with someone for years. A small act of generosity can set off a chain reaction, inspiring others to do the same. The ripple effect of kindness is powerful. When one person experiences genuine care, they are more likely to pass it on to others. A single kind gesture can create a wave of positivity that extends far beyond what we can see. Kindness has the ability to break through barriers. It can reach people who have closed themselves off, who have built walls around their hearts because they have been hurt or disappointed too many times. A kind action, even from a stranger, can begin to restore faith in humanity. It can remind people that not everyone is indifferent, that there is still compassion in the world. For someone who has been struggling in silence, a small act of kindness can be the moment that shifts their perspective, that reminds them they are not alone